Okay, this is Earl Purdy. I'm back for Facebook Live, and we're going to start all over here, and we're going to talk about the two emotions today in A Course in Miracles. And before we get into that, all righty. Let me handle it. I got it. Thank you anyway. I got it. All right. So thank you for your patience, mighty companions. And we're going to be on 247, page 247, The Two Emotions in A Course in Miracles. I'm Earl Purdy. Want to welcome you. And we're going to start out with a little song by Brother John Christmas that tells me the truth about this morning, and tells me the truth about this evening, and tells me the truth about all through the day, about whatever's happening with any of us and all of us. And the song is called, I Am Not a Victim of the World I See. Whether you believe it or not, I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. I'm not a victim of my mom. I'm not a victim of my pa. I'm not a victim of events or circumstance at all. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me. I'm not a victim of the future, not a victim of the past, not a victim of anything that really doesn't last. I'm not a victim of the world I see. What's happening now is what I've done to me. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. This is Earl Purdy. I want to welcome you to Facebook Live, Course in Miracles. We're going to talk about the two emotions and how do you deal with them, and how you deal with the one that's love and let go of the one that's any form of fear. We want to hear it. The first stage to changing your mind about anything is hearing something new. I'm not a victim of the North. I'm not a victim of the South. Not a victim of anything, so what comes out my mouth. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me. Help me out now. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. You don't have to believe the ideas. You don't have to believe the ideas. You don't have to believe the ideas. You don't have to accept the ideas. You don't have to welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may find hard to believe and even quite startling. You're not being asked to analyze the ideas at all. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me. Oh yeah. Cause what's happened to me is what I've done to me. Okay, mighty companions, that was Brother John Christmas. If you like to get John's music, it's at www.johnChristmas.com. And that's where you can get John's music. We're going to talk about the two emotions. We've been in the section, the chapter 13, the guiltless world in A Course in Miracles. And we've been on the section called the function of time. But we're going to start out on the two emotions. But before I go into the two emotions, remember, I am the truth repetition teacher. I see myself as the one who really wants to do what the Course in Miracles says you have to do in order to learn the Course in Miracles, which is remember that you don't have to believe it. It's important for you to remember that you don't have to believe it. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to welcome it, because if you think someone's trying to convert you or make you believe something, then it just brings up a lot of resistance. So the truth is, you don't have to believe it, accept it, welcome it. The Course in Miracles says some of it's going to be hard to believe. It may be hard to believe. And then it says that some of it may startle us. But it also says you're not being asked to judge and analyze the ideas at all, because it actually says the more you analyze it, the more confused and disoriented you're going to become. So if you really want to get the simplicity of what the Course in Miracles is teaching, then it's the first stage of hearing anything is just letting yourself hear it. Period. You don't have to necessarily believe it, but if you're going to get a new idea, you need to hear it. And so the Course in Miracles is saying that if you would use the ideas, you would see that the ideas are true and that the ideas will prove that they are true to you. Another good point I'd like to make in every Course in Miracles class that I do is that it's in the remembrance. I say it again, it's in the remembrance that you will get the benefits that it's talking about. So we're going to be on page 247 in the text, in the guiltless world, chapter 13, with the Course in Miracles. But before I go into the first paragraph of the two emotions, I want to cover the last paragraph in the previous section. And that section is, we were talking about the function of time. And the Course in Miracles says if you want to continue a pattern in your life, if you want to keep something going that's always been going, all you have to do is take right now and interpret everything happening right now based on what's happened to you in the past or your past experience. He says every time you take right now to interpret what's going on now in terms of what you experienced in the past or what you believed from the past or what you thought was true in the past, he says you just project it into the future and you allow yourself to relive that again. So it's saying that as we interpret the function of time, as you interpret the function of time, you will interpret the function of time as you interpret your function. So what does that mean? If I don't love myself, if I think my function is to always give myself some form of hard time, some type of fear, some type of challenge, then I'm going to use right now to perpetuate some form of unhappiness or sadness in my experience. If I believe that the function of time is to allow me to use time in such a way that I love myself and others more, and I become more conscious and I become more free, then that's what I'm going to see the function of time as being. So does that mean you're going to use time according to what your purpose, goal, and thoughts are, and your consciousness is, according to the Course in Miracles? That's exactly what you're going to do. You're always going to use time to give you what you think you deserve. You're going to use time to give you what you think you deserve. And so we're either going to use time to give ourselves joy, or we're going to use time to give ourselves some form of pain. So the Course says if you accept your function in the world of time as healing, okay, why am I in time right now? I'm in time right now to heal. And then the Course in Miracles says, well, what is healing? Healing is the undoing of fear. It's undoing guilt. It's undoing the sense of separation. So when the Course talks about healing, it's not just talking about the physical body. The Course in Miracles is talking first and foremost about our perception, the way we see things. So the Course in Miracles is talking more about how you see things than anything else, because whether you know it or not, it's the meaning you're giving to everything that's determining how you're feeling about everything. It's the meaning that you're giving something that's determining how you're feeling right now. No matter how you're feeling about anything that's happening in your life, according to the Course in Miracles, that feeling is coming from the meaning that you are giving that. So I interpret what's happening in my life. How I interpret what's happening in my life determines how I feel about it. So if I'm interpreting that you are out to hurt me, I'm going to react to you and give myself feelings like you are going to hurt me. I'm going to always feel according to my interpretation of what's going on, not anybody else's interpretation of what's going on. My feelings are coming from me. Your feelings are coming from you. You may have people around you that you are using as a catalyst to feel love, but they are not making you feel the love. The love that you feel is coming from you. The peace that you feel is coming from you. The anger that you feel is coming from you. Whatever you're feeling, it's not coming from somebody else. According to this, it's coming from you. So you can say someone else is making you happy. Great, but they aren't really making you happy. You are making yourself happy about them. You are making yourself happy based on what you say about them, how you are seeing them. So they aren't really making you happy. You are making you happy by the way you see them. That's why you can feel something for somebody and they say they don't feel the same thing for you or from you. That's the feeling you're giving yourself about that person. And that's what you're feeling, not their feelings. You're feeling your feelings. Now, why am I emphasizing that? Because whether you know it or not, that is the key to happiness. What you just heard was the key to happiness. Because if my happiness comes from me, and if it comes from how I'm seeing things and how I'm interpreting things and the meaning that I'm giving things, then I could be happy in any situation, in any circumstance that I'm in. Because my happiness isn't dependent on what anything or anybody outside of me is doing. Hear me again. Your happiness or unhappiness is not coming as a result of your past. It's not coming from a result of what you think someone is doing to you or has done to you. If you're unhappy in this moment, it's because of what you're telling yourself about what's happened to you. It means you're using right now to think about something that made you sad in the past, and you're experiencing it again and reliving it again, and then you're projecting it into your future if you think that could happen to you again. So if you're ever going to be happy in this life, we must get rid of the erroneous idea that our happiness is ultimately coming from anybody outside of ourselves, anything outside of ourselves, or any circumstance that's outside of ourselves. The happiness is coming from the meaning you are giving to the person, to the situation, and to the circumstance. And if that's true, you could be happy all the time because you can learn how to look at things in such a way that you don't give your peace up and you don't give your peace away. And the Course in Miracles is one curriculum that allows you to do that. It's not the only way, it's one way that will appeal to some people and not everybody. Just like you. You might appeal to some people and not everybody, but you're the same person. So what's happening? Everyone's got a different interpretation of you, and they're responding to their interpretation of you. That's why one person likes you and another person doesn't. You know you're just a little juicy, innocent angel that would never hurt anybody, and you're just the kindest, most loving thing that ever lived. How could people even begin to think that it could be a problem with you? Well, the truth is, you can never make everyone happy because you can't control how everyone is seeing things. And so therefore, you have to let go of your concern about what other people think and use time for what it says. The Course in Miracles says you need to use time for healing. And when you're serious about being happy, it says you're going to emphasize the only aspect of time in which healing or happiness can occur. So your healing cannot be accomplished in the past. The Course in Miracles says your happiness, I love this, your happiness cannot be accomplished in the past. I can't be happy in what's gone. I can't be happy in what's over. And I certainly can't be happy in the not yet, which is how the Course in Miracles defines the future. It says the future means not yet. So if I'm going to be happy in the not yet, I'm going to be happy in the future. I'm going to be happy in the not yet. Well, that's not where happiness can be located either. So once you become sincere about your happiness, you're going to start emphasizing the only aspect of time that your happiness can occur in, which is now. You're going to start focusing on your healing now. You're going to focus on letting go of everything that causes you anger, guilt, and grievances. When? Now. So you have to absolutely allow your healing to happen right now so that you can release your future and let your future be an extension of the happiness you're having right now. If I allow myself to have peace with you now, if I allow myself to appreciate you now, then I could extend this now of appreciation into the next now. And I can continue to appreciate you in the next now. And I can keep on appreciating you. And then if I stay in the now, it releases my past because I'm not thinking about what you did to me in the past. I'm not thinking about what I went through as a child. I'm not thinking about what everybody else has done to me right now, recreating it and projecting it into the future. I'm saying this is gone, this is over. Right now I can choose to see things differently. Right now I can choose to think about myself differently. Right now I can tell myself some new loving things that are different. Now, so the present is the point of power. And guess what? When you use right now to love yourself more, it says this interpretation ties the future to the present and extends the present rather than the past. When I interpret myself in a new, loving, powerful way right now, when I think about myself in a nurturing, loving way right now, the Course in Miracles says you will start to extend this present of love, this present moment of love, rather than the pain that happened in the past. But if your interpretation of your function is destruction, if you are a person who hates yourself, doesn't love yourself, you're full of grievances, you're full of anger, you're projecting, you're blaming, you're holding everybody else responsible for what you're going through, he says, well, then you're going to lose sight of the present because I'm upset all the time because I'm thinking about what happened in the past, so I'm not in the present. And he says, then you're going to hold on to the past, everything that you think has ever been done to you, every injustice, every unfairness. And the Course says that's going to ensure what? It's going to ensure you're going to have a destructive future. So what's going to happen if I keep on if I'm self-destructive, don't love myself, I'm not treating myself with respect and innocence and consciousness, then I got to think of something that I've learned in the past to make me feel that way. And that's going to ensure my future is going to be the same way because I'm interpreting my present in past terms. And so I'm going to relive it and recreate those kind of relationships for myself in the future because that's all I'm focusing on. So that's all I'm going to see. Does that make sense? You know, when you think about the only thing that could be wrong is your perception of something. And you know you're in control of your perception, then that's good news. See, I don't know about everybody else, but I don't want my happiness dependent on other people. I don't want my peace to be dependent on other people. I want to join other people in peace. But I certainly don't want to depend on you having a good day for me to have one. If you're choosing to be critical of yourself, if you're choosing not to love yourself, I really want you to recognize your beauty and your innocence one day, but I don't want that to mean I can't have happiness today because you somehow are controlling my happiness. So the Course in Miracles says time is going to be the way you interpret it because time in and of itself is nothing. It's neutral. So I'm either going to use this day to make me feel more joyful or I'm going to use this day to make me feel more upset and weary. Those are the two uses of time. Okay, now then it goes into the next section, which is called the two emotions. I love this. I'm Earl Purdy. I want to thank you again, mighty companions, for coming online. Share this video. Share this video. So listen to this, and then I'm going to clarify it in a minute. I have said that you have but two emotions, love and fear. Love is changeless. Love is changeless. What's love never changes. If it's love, it never changes. If it's love, it's continually exchanged. If it's love, you're really giving it back and forth all the time. And do you know, according to the Course in Miracles, you are an eternal spiritual being. You are an eternal spiritual being. So when we're loving each other, we're going to be continually exchanging love. I am the eternal, to you the eternal. Now, we've heard how love operates. That's how love operates. Then it says, in this exchange, I'm giving it to you and you're giving it to me, that love is extended. Because the thing about love, you know what's cool about love? Love increases as it's given. The more you give it, the bigger it gets. The more you give it, the more it expands. That's the way love operates. So how can you tell if you're really loving somebody? If you are truly loving somebody according to this, there's going to be this changeless love, this changeless appreciation going back and forth and extending to each other. So the longer you are with each other, the more you should be appreciating each other, recognizing each other, seeing each other. So if it started out with all that, you couldn't get enough of each other, and now you can't even stand the thought of them being around you, it's a possibility that love isn't increasing. This is a stretch. If you bored as hell with them now, it's a possibility that the love isn't increased yet. So we got the first one, right? And the reason why I work out of the book is because what I really want to do is motivate those who are attracted to the Course in Miracles to study it and then read it. And so a good teacher is trying to ultimately make themselves unnecessary. And so they do that by teaching and sharing all that they know. And that's what I'm attempting to do. Now, after 40 years of working with this and watching my life change in ways that I could have never dreamed of in terms of moving from conflict and fear and confusion and anger to a lot of personal peace and love and support and fun. One of the biggest challenges with the Course in Miracles is that adults tend not to want to hear answers that they didn't make up or come up with themselves. So sometimes it's hard to get adults to accept answers that come from other people. Because part of being an adult is that we're taught that we're supposed to be practically autonomous and completely self-sufficient. So open yourself up to the possibility that you could have a love that never changes, it never ends, that you have constantly exchanged between you and someone else, and that love can greatly, totally keep increasing and getting even bigger and even more intense and even more expansive. And the Course says love is joy and happiness, in case you're wondering. That when it talks about love, it's talking about joy and it's talking about happiness. So the Course says there's another emotion though. And the Course says this other emotion has many forms because the content of individual illusions differ greatly. In other words, this other, which is fear, can take many different appearances. Fear can take a lot of different forms. You can have a fear of one thing, a fear of another thing. You could have a fear of a lot of different things. The other emotion has a lot of different forms. What would be some of the definitions or other words that we use for fear? Well, the court says, well, anger, guilt, depression, sickness, attack, jealousy, insecurity. These are just some of the various forms that fear takes. Even says thinking that you're a body, thinking that you're separate, thinking that you're alone. The Course in Miracles says this is just another form fear takes. Believing that you have lack, there's not enough, I'm bored. This is just another form that fear takes. So fear takes many forms, but the content is always the same. I'm jealous, I'm afraid. I'm sick is a form of fear. I'm angry, that's a form of fear. All the different forms of fear have the same content. There's a sense of separateness. There's a sense of separateness from God. There's a sense of separateness from love. So the Course says, anytime that you are in fear, all your fears have one thing in common. The Course says all of them are insane. It said the content of all your fears, they have one thing in common. The Course in Miracles says they're all insane. And then you go, well, what does that mean? Well, your fears are made up of sights that are not seen and sounds that are not heard. What in the heck does that mean? When a person is upset, they're probably telling themselves things that they really didn't see and things that they didn't really hear. They're telling themselves usually a story that they're making up in their own mind about whatever it is they're upset about. Have you ever had somebody angry at you and everything they were accusing you of was wrong? Anybody ever had that experience where somebody was accusing you of something and they were angry and upset and afraid, and everything they were saying to you was what? Sights that are not seen, sounds that are not heard. Here's another example. If you're angry at me about something that happened 3 years ago and you're bringing it back up and you're angry with me, then you're still afraid because of sights that are not seen, sounds that are not heard, because those sights and sounds are not happening right now. So even if I'm upset with you because of something that you did in the past, I'm still focused on things that are not being said right now or seen right now. So the Course in Miracles says, then you are in a private world. The Course in Miracles says you're in a private world that can't be shared. I love that. In other words, if I'm making up everything, my story about my life and what's going on with everything and everybody in my life, then I'm in my own private world. And I really can't share that with you because you are not necessarily feeling exactly what I'm feeling about the things I think I went through in the past. If I'm talking to you about what I'm upset about, what happened to me in the past, you can't really share that with me, really, because I'm talking to you about something that's not happening right now. So I'm not really sharing anything that we can really share because I'm not sharing anything real with you right now. So the Course in Miracles says, then your story is meaningful only to you. The Course says your fears are meaningful only to you. The things that you're getting upset about, they really have the most meaning to you. Have you ever been like really going through something or intense about something or having really intense feelings about something, and you tell somebody else about it and they just don't get it? They can't, you have it happen to you all the time where you have friends, relatives telling you about something they're going through, and the truth is it's most meaningful only to them. You know, our ego makes us think that people think about us more than they do. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people won't really be true to themselves because they think they're concerned about how everybody else is going to react to what they're saying or doing, as if their actions and behavior are the things that's uppermost on anybody else's mind. So they won't actually do something that they really want to do or express themselves in a way that would really be meaningful and joyful for them because they're afraid of what somebody else is going to think about it. And most people, I don't know about you, but I don't spend most days thinking all day about somebody else. I'm usually thinking about myself in relationship to somebody else, myself in a relationship to some situation, myself in relationship with something or someone. Now, you can try to pretend that you think about other people more than you think about yourself, but I personally won't believe you, but I'll personally be glad that you think that way about yourself, okay? You would be like Mother Teresa if you woke up in the morning and the first thing you thought about was everybody else's happiness all day except yours. I think that'd be awesome. And one day it's to be the truth. Because one day you realize there is nobody else, and everybody else's happiness is your happiness. But until then, the truth is you're living in your own world with your own story that has things that mean the most to you and no one else. And if you're talking to people about anything that happened in the past or something you think might be happening in the future, then you're sharing with them something that isn't real and something that doesn't exist. And if you're always talking about your past, and especially if it's a past that you didn't like, you're taking right now the point of power and you're projecting that into the future, and you'll relive that in some form or fashion. So in this world, when you're in a world where you're living inside your own thoughts about everybody and everything, the Course in Miracles says, in this world, their maker moves alone. So I'm really walking around in the world alone in my story about what I think about everybody and what I think about myself. Are you? Are you walking around in the world thinking your own thoughts about everything and everybody say yes? Right, that's the truth, which means you're walking around in the world that you're making up on your own. So the Course in Miracles says you're really walking around through the world alone. Why are you walking around through the world alone? Because you're the only one that sees the stuff that's going on in your mind. I don't know what's going on in your mind till you tell me. I don't know what happened in your childhood till you tell me. I don't know what your beliefs are about anything and your feelings about anything are until you tell me. So that's how the Course in Miracles says, you're walking around in a world you're making up, because anything real, everyone shares it and everyone knows it. That's how you'll know when you really tapped into reality according to the Course. Because there will be no secrets. Everyone will be aware of everything. There will only be the same common awareness of reality, no matter how you are individually experiencing it. So the Course in Miracles is saying that's what we're doing. We're around people who are walking through the world alone, living inside their own story, taking what's happened to them in the past, interpreting that in their present, and then giving themselves the same patterns again. That's what they call it. I got this pattern with me, and I got this pattern with a job. I got this pattern with my money. I got this pattern about my fears or my guilt or my anger. The Course is saying that's because what you're doing is you're still going by the things that you experienced in the past and the learnings that you had in the past, and you're thinking about them right now, and right now could be the time you freed yourself from it, but nah, you're not freeing yourself from it. You're still talking about your story. You're still talking about what happened to you that you're upset about right now, then you projected it into the future, and you're also feeling it right now. See, I call myself the divine repetition teacher because the thing that I've noticed the most about the Course in Miracles is people forget what you say from it. They be wide awake while you're saying it, and then 15 minutes after they leave your presence, it's like they never heard a word you said. It's the weirdest thing about this book. I've never seen anything like it. I've never taught anything that I could see people so shaking their heads and saying that they really get it, that they forget it as soon as they walk out the door. Because it's so opposite to the way that the person normally thinks, that even though it is the truth and they recognize it, but the fact that they're not going to keep on hearing it after they leave out of here, they go back in the old mindset and forget what they just heard, because that's what the world is reinforcing, and that's what you have programmed yourself to believe. So it is a lot easier to go back to what we call your default setting, the way that you were really programmed, as opposed to the way you say you were programmed. So how do you know how you are really programmed? How do you find out what you really believe more so than what you're saying? It's how you act whenever you're upset. It's how you act whenever you're afraid. It's how you act whenever you have something go that and it's not the way that you would want it to go. Do you go to your truth and say, okay, this happened in the past. I'm not going to focus on the past right now, what I learned about this in the past. I'm going to focus on what I'm studying right now and the truth that I'm learning right now instead of what I learned in the world. Or even though you talk peace and you want peace and you say you want peace and you want love and you study and you meditate, but soon as someone does something you don't like, you're angry, you're projecting, you're all upset, then that's your default setting. That's how much of the truth you have learned. It's the way you handle your upsets. What do you go to when you're feeling afraid? Do you go to the world or do you go to the new teachers? If you say you're a Course in Miracles student, do you go to the teachers of the Course in Miracles, if that's your path, or do you go right back to the way that the world looks at it? Now, the Course says that that's not even complicated either. It says the world has one way of dealing with everything, which is, it says, if you were different, I'd be happy. If this person's situation, circumstance changed, then I'd be happy. So the world's way of dealing with anything, the Course says, is always to use your mind to come up with who or what needs to change except you. I'm going to come up with my mama needs to change, my father needs to change, they need to act different, dress different, talk different. But somewhere in that conversation, there's one person I'm leaving out, me. All my solutions have to do with everybody else changing. So the Course in Miracles says you're walking around in a private world made up of your past learnings and experiences. And you know they're not real because nobody knows about it until you tell them. I don't have to, right now, even though this is an interesting kind of example because ultimately this is not real either, but I'm going to say it this way. Right now, we all probably have a consensus reality that we see a mic up here. And nobody else would have had to tell you that that was a mic. You just look at it and you know it was the mic. So what we don't know is everybody's story about the mic. That's the difference in reality and the story. What's real, we all go, there's a mic there. What's unreal is all you all's thoughts about it. I won't know what those are until you tell me. And if you were smacked with a mic when you were a kid, then you see a mic and you probably get scared and upset about that. But that fear and upset is coming from what? Your past experience of getting smacked with a mic. The truth is, in the present moment, the mic isn't doing anything to harm you at all. So if you could be in the present, you wouldn't have your fear of mics. Because in the present, you are not being hurt by one. Does that make sense? I'm going to say this over and over again, even though we're going to forget it, but if we keep on saying it, one day we won't. Because you could find yourself 5 minutes after you leave out of here upset about something else. And there's only one reason why you'd be upset about something else. It's because you're thinking about something that happened in the past, or he says you're thinking about something that might happen in the future, and it's scaring you. Right? So that's how you can tell when you slip right back into your programming. It's even though you may say the truth, like I get this now, okay, I'm the one that's creating my future by what I'm saying from the past. If you walk out of here and within 5 minutes you have something come up that makes you feel contraction, makes you feel fear, makes you feel anger, then you've gone back into the old pattern again. And that's how you use your feelings. You use your feelings to tell you what you really believe as opposed to what you're telling yourself you believe. Because your feelings are nothing but beliefs you have accepted as true, even if there's not. So use your feelings to tell a lot about what you truly believe and not your mind, because you will tell yourself anything. You tell yourself that you never get upset with people, you're the kindest person in the world, where you can lose your temper 10 minutes later and don't see it. Because when a person goes into their insane, fearful mind, it's like they become another person and they're not the person who's in their calm, peaceful, loving mind. It's almost like there's two of us, that Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing. That is us. All these type of things have messages for us. You have a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde self too. You have a self that's really the cool one that everybody likes, that would be sweet and loving to everybody, and then you got the psycho. And everybody know they got an inner psycho. I don't want to hear it. You know there's a part of you can act crazy and do crazy things. This is not a class in trying to be positive about ways about yourself that you haven't achieved yet. Okay, that's not what my classes are for. You are incredible. You are love. You are the most incomprehensibly wonderful thing that's ever been created. But to get to that self, you have to be willing to look at the self that you've made up that ain't like that at all. And then learn to look at that self a new way. And so the Course in Miracles is saying the first thing that a person needs to recognize is that they're walking around in a world that's their own private world, that's based on the stories that they're telling themselves, that nobody else even knows about, but that you are reacting to people as if what you're telling yourself about them is true. And it may not be true at all. And then the Course in Miracles says the way you know it's probably not true at all is because you're so unhappy. And you're so afraid and angry, which should be your clue that you're probably wrong about everything you're telling yourself. That's why I'm trying to strangle right now. Part of me don't want me to say this. It's trying to take me out. It's funny. It's funny. There's nothing going on in my throat until I start talking about what I'm doing. You know what I said? Until I start talking about what I'm doing. Because Course in Miracles taught me I can't see nobody else's ego. Course in Miracles taught me, say, you never see anybody's ego other than yours. because you can't see anybody else's ego except through your ego. I can't see you except through what I've learned. So I love going when I think I'm getting upset with somebody, going, oh, this person is really showing me exactly what's going on in my own ego, my own perception of things. Oh, I'm calling you selfish because I have selfish thoughts. Oh, I'm calling you, whatever I say about you is really, I can only see that through my own thoughts that are like that, or I wouldn't be able to even recognize it. So now I'm thankful to people for making me aware of what I need to heal in myself. People are making me aware of what I need to heal. Oh, you have such a vicious temper. Then I need to correct the vicious temper in myself. Where is it that I have a vicious temper? Now you can go yes, but, yes, but, yes, but remember, this isn't about you believing anything I'm saying. It's about me introducing ideas that you can either buy into or not. I'm just introducing you to ideas that are true according to this, whether or not you like it. So that's what I love about this, because it keeps my mind open. So I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm just saying, you're in the Course in Miracles. This is what the Course in Miracles teaches. As clear as I can, let me just share what's coming through me that it says. And then you determine how you want to react or respond to it. And that's the agreement, right? So he says, each person peoples their world with figures from their individual past. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to people my world with people that remind me of the people from my past. That's what we call our types. You know, like women and men both have their types, or they have noticed certain patterns in their relationships, right? And he's saying that's because you people your world with your own individual past, your own individual learnings, your own individual beliefs, your own individual values. I had a friend one time that would only date women who were blonde, right? That was what? Reliving his past over and over and over and over again, which had nothing to do with that person's consciousness. Or there's a certain look, or there's a certain, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You know you have a type that you tend to be attracted to. So the Course says everyone does that. He says, we people our world with figures from our individual past. And because my world is full of my past, and your world is full of your past, he says it looks like we have different worlds. So it looks like we have different worlds because of what I've gone through, and it looks like we have different worlds because of what you've gone through. But the one thing I know you're doing is you got a pattern in the men in your life and the women in your life, and you got a pattern that you've learned through your past that you're recreating probably in your world every day based on what you learned in the past. And the Course says that's what makes your world different from everybody else's world. And then he says, and because of this, the figures in your world are never real. What do you mean? What do you mean? Well, if I'm thinking of you, I like to use examples. If I'm dating someone new and I'm thinking of them in terms of someone from the past, then the people in my world are not real. They are just based on what I remember from my past, not from what's happening right in front of me right now with a person. You follow what I'm saying? The Course in Miracles is saying because all the people in your mind are made up by your reactions to them. And so let me give you, the first time I read that was like one of my favorite lines in the whole book. In other words, when I look back at relationships that I had in the past, all I'm remembering is how I reacted to them, how I felt about them. I really don't know how they really were reacting to me. I don't really know how they saw the relationship with me. I'm only remembering my reactions to everything I think of whenever I think about the past. Because if you're in a relationship with me, you may not know really what I was feeling about you. I might have felt being with you was the biggest hell I ever gave myself. And I might feel like being with you was the best thing, but you could be going, oh my God, my experience of Earl was just awesome. So when you remember the past, all you remember is my reaction to him or her was awesome. Or I didn't like them was my reaction to them. Or I did enjoy. So he's saying, y'all don't know it, but y'all just remembering your own past reactions to people. You don't know how they really were reacting to you. That's why sometimes you can be ready to get back into a relationship and the other person be going like, hell we will. Right? because their reaction to you, based on their experience of you, made them not want to join with you anymore. And then it could be that's the opposite on your part. I love to take pictures. Photography has been my hobby since I was a teenager. I can look at my whole life without a 6-month break from the time I was 15 years old, which is really a trip when you documented yourself to that level. But the thing about it is that usually when you take pictures of people, you very seldom take pictures of people when they're mad as hell and want to murder you. You very seldom take pictures of people when they're sad. Think about it. Most pictures are of pleasant experiences that you want to remember. That's why you took the picture, because it was something that was cool about it, right? So I go back through my albums, right? And I'm just seeing happy people who seem like they're happy around me and happy with me. Now, follow what I'm saying. That may not be their experience of me, because they may not have only the happy memories. So when they think about me, they go, well, I don't really want to be close to you anymore based on the meaning that I gave to the experience I had with you, okay? So I don't want to join with you because I'm remembering my reaction to you, and my reaction to you was pain, right? But here's Mr. Photo Guy. All I'm looking at is all the good times we had. So in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, I would love to be able to continue to have that kind of relationship with you, and I'm willing to try to let go of anything that we had that made us separate from each other. Why? Because I'm looking at the loving thoughts. I'm looking at the happy thoughts. So that reinforces my mind that it looks like we ought to be able to have a peaceful, loving relationship with each other. We did. So what happened? What happened was what? What you were telling each other about each other. What happened was what you were telling yourself based on the past that you have experienced, and you were injecting that into that relationship, and you never were dealing with each other. You were in your private worlds relating to each other based on your own personal private experiences with other people, and then projecting that onto, even if with that same person. It could have been 3 weeks ago with the same person, but you're still bringing the past into the present. And he says that's what means you're in your private world, because I don't even know what you think about me until you tell me. So that's how I know that it is not real, because you have to tell me how you feel about me. So the Course in Miracles is saying you are not responding to the people in your life. You're responding to your past experiences of those people. And you're letting your past experiences on your job, in your work, in your finances dictate what you think could happen to you in the future. So you're using time destructively when you're not using time to let yourself experience more joy. And it's saying to us that your reactions, your past memories are made up only of your reactions to other people, but your reaction to people is not based on their reactions to you. Therefore, since you don't realize you're just responding to your own reactions, the Course says you don't see you made them. And you don't see that those images that you are believing in are not whole. They are not love. Not only am I making my perceptions of you based on my own experiences and my own judgments about you, I am not even seeing the loving being that you are capable of being, because I'm so busy seeing what I think you've done to me or what somebody else like you has done to me that I'm projecting it on you. So everybody's got a type. Everybody's got a pattern. So I don't care how different the relationship seems in the beginning, you're going to eventually come to the pattern that you always have, that you got to get beyond if you haven't got beyond that pattern yet. Because you chose them, according to the Course, because something inside of you saw that person as the person who could meet your individual need more than anybody else that you saw around you right now. That's why you single a person out in a group gathering. Why you choose one person over another. First of all, they're reminding you of something from your past that you need to forgive and learn. And there's some need that I think I have that I think you can meet so much that I try to get with you. That's just that simple. That's how the Course says that it's just made up of your thoughts. That's why you single them out. It's because of what you think your needs are. So therefore, you don't see that the image that you're looking at of that person is not real. It has nothing to do with you getting to know them and who they are and what they're saying. I haven't even had a conversation with you yet. So I'm obviously attracted to you because of something I'm telling myself right now about you that makes me want to approach you. And I can only be approaching you because it looks like you're going to meet some need that I think I have right now. So I'm really not seeing you. I'm seeing my fantasy that I'm projecting on you that I hope you can fulfill. I haven't even met you yet. And I'm probably only interested in you because you remind me of my past pattern anyway. And if I haven't gotten to the point that I love myself, then I'm going to make sure you're certainly not somebody that really loves me, just like I chose somebody who didn't love me in the past, because I don't deserve love. So therefore, I'm going to choose the person that reminds me of the people that's not even there. That's deep, y'all. That is deep. Now, you don't have to believe this. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to welcome it. It's okay. But that still don't stop it from being true. Okay? It's because you don't agree with something doesn't mean it's not true. So the Course in Miracles says, these figures have no witnesses, being perceived in one separate mind only. If how I see you is the way I see you, then the way I see you has no witnesses, because you can't see the way I see things. You can't see people the way I see people. So the Course in Miracles says these figures that we made up, these images and fantasies of people that we made up based on what we've gone through in the past, he says these figures have no witnesses because it's just going on in my mind. And since it's just going on in my mind, nobody else can see it. So there. So I'm going to do a quick little recap in a minute, and on the main point that we heard today, which is get out of your private world. Realize that just because the story you're telling yourself and the interpretation that you're giving something does not necessarily mean that it's true. And so I'm going to give you a good solid thing to take out with you. I want to thank those of you who share with me in my full-time teaching ministry. You can just go to www.earlpurdy.com if you'd like to make a donation or financial expression of appreciation. If you have Venmo or Zelle or any of those, you can just use my email address, earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com, P-U-R-D-Y. And I'm also available for one-on-one sessions called clarity sessions. And we can take a look at whatever you're going through, and you can get other ways of looking at it and getting past the blocks. I'm also a full-time astrologer and numerologist, but that's done in terms of most especially personal growth, higher consciousness, finding out what your soul purpose is. You're here on the planet. There is a divine plan for your life. Most people spend more time looking for the plan than actually allowing themselves to express the plan and enjoy their whole life. You know, they'll still be 70 years old going, I can't figure out what I want to do. So the whole life they could have been expressing that, they're still trying to find out what it is. And you could find that out with your astrological, numerological chart in 90 minutes and some details about it. So don't spend a whole lot of time trying to get information that you could get very, very easily, because the universe does want us to move more quicker than we like to move, but since we think our understanding is so important, it slows us down. And so we could just be getting guidance and instruction, but we are so arrogant that we think we have to understand every little aspect of everything all the time before we can do it. So then we miss a lot of the help. So I'm available for clarity sessions. You can self-book on my website. So if you want to find out more detail about that, just go to my website and look under clarity sessions. And we're continuing with our Facebook Live, A Course in Miracles, Thursday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time on the Earl Purdy page on Facebook. And then Sundays at 1 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time also. So what I'm saying is, if our happiness is going to come from getting another way of thinking, and we have another way of thinking available to us. We have another way of thinking available to us, and all we have to do is be willing to hear it. Remember, if you didn't think of it, it may be hard for you to listen to it. If it wasn't an idea that you come up with, the Course says there's a part of us that'll be hard for us to let it come through. So here's a quick review for you. Whatever you think your function is That's how you are going to use your time. There's only one aspect of time that has any meaning and power. It's right now. So if you're going to let go of your anger, your guilt, your grievances, your lack, you can only do that in the only aspect of time that has power, which is right now. So I want you to make the choice. Would you be willing to make the choice that you are willing to use time for your peace? That you're willing to use time for your joy now? That you're willing to use time for your freedom now? You just have two emotions. I know it seems like there are a lot of emotions you're having, but you're only experiencing love and fear. Do you hear I'm saying you only experience love or fear? There are many names for love: joy, happiness, fun, health, wealth, peace, excitement, oneness, love. These are all expressions of love. Fear has also many labels: anger, guilt, grievances, sickness, attack, depression, boredom, addiction. These are all forms of fear. You only are experiencing love or fear. Now here's the tricky part. If it's love, it only grows. If it's love, it only expands. If it's love, it never ends. But if it's fear, then it's going to come to you in a variety of forms. The Course says they are all insane. So what causes your fear? What causes fear? The Course says that the fear comes from thinking that you are separate and thinking about your present in terms of some things that have happened to you in the past, or it's your anticipation of what you think is going to happen to you in the future that causes your fear. The Course in Miracles is saying that not being in the present is what's causing your fear. And one of the quickest ways to get into the present is to realize that in every moment you can choose love or fear. You can choose truth or the past. If you want to come into the present moment instantly, just remind yourself that you have a choice, because you can't make choices in the future and you can't make your choices in the past. So the minute you go to, I'm going to choose how I'm going to deal with this right now, I'm going to make a choice, it'll take you right into the present. And when you think about your past, remember, you're just remembering your reactions to the people in your past. You don't really know their reactions to you. And also remember that anything you have to tell somebody about, that's your story that's coming from your own private world. And so you know it's not real because you got to tell somebody about it. What's real is what's happening and available right now. So in this moment, no matter what's happened to you in the past, no matter what happened in your childhood, no matter what's happened through all the different things that's going on in the world right now, if you're listening to this, you're probably safe. I doubt if you were on the battlefield, you'd be watching this live broadcast. So if you are able to sit back and listen to this or watch this, it means that you're at some level of safety. And so remember that if you don't bring your past into this present, if you do not interpret your present in terms of the past, you will not recreate that form in your future. So you want to tell yourself right now, the past is over. It cannot touch me. The past is over. It cannot touch me right now. My past is over. Another way of putting it is, what's gone is gone. Past means gone. It means over. So your childhood is over. What happened last week is over. What happened an hour ago is over. What happened this morning is over. So what happened last night, it can't physically touch you right now. This present moment is your point of power. So how do you use it? I'm going to use this time to heal. Tell yourself now, I'm willing to use time to heal. Are you willing to use time to heal? What does that mean? It means I'm going to use time to undo my fear. I'm going to use time to undo fear. I'm going to learn how to let go of fear and guilt. Fear and guilt, according to the Course, those feelings are the sole cause of your pain. You may not realize it, but any kind of unconscious guilt that you have is the cause of your pain, or fear is the cause of your pain. That's why love is the only answer. That's why appreciation is the only answer. That's why nurturing yourself also is the only answer. So, mighty companions, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for wanting to come together to join on the truth. We can't do it alone. So, may the Course be with you. Thanks for tuning in. Share the video.